This film was made to tell you there's going to be a new medical school at Mount Sinai Hospital. And more than a new medical school, it will be a new kind of medical school designed to turn out a new kind of doctor. The idea behind the new Mount Sinai Medical School has already begun to attract attention among doctors and educators everywhere. This is Dr. Milton Eisenhower on the left, president of Johns Hopkins University, talking with Dr. Martin Steinberg, the director of Mount Sinai Hospital. Dr. Eisenhower has expressed a deep interest in the new medical school and is on his way to a meeting with 5 of the key men who are making the Mount Sinai idea into something real.
Well, how are you? Nice to see you again.
He will be talking with Dr. Hans Popper, the director of the Department of Pathology and acting dean and professor of pathology of the new medical school. Dr. Alan Kark, the director of the Department of Surgery and the professor of surgery. Dr. Alexander Gutman, the director of the Department of Medicine and professor of medicine. Dr. Ralph Kaufman, the director of the Department of Psychiatry and professor of psychiatry. And Dr. Horace Hodes, the director of pediatrics and professor of pediatrics. You are invited too.
Well, gentlemen, I'm delighted to have an opportunity to meet with you and find what you're thinking about while you're still in the planning stages of creating a new school of medicine. May I say that anyone who is even remotely connected with the health field is perfectly aware of the fact that we desperately need more high-quality medical schools in the United States. Now, I understand that in your planning, you intend the new School of Medicine to be different from existing schools, and I'm very anxious to find out what the innovating nature of the program is.
Dr. Eisenhower, what we visualize in this medical school, actually, and this perhaps is going to be the toughest job, is a change in the way a physician actually relates himself to the total problem and to people.
There is a tremendous change in medicine. We find doctors more and more specializing in a particular field. And this, we think, has brought the physician to a point where he's much more of a technician than he ought to be. We find that he's unable really to deal with the patient in the way the old physician did, as a person and as a person related to his family and to his community. So what we shall try to do, I think, is to instill in the student the social sciences that are connected with medicine and are part of it, so that the physician will then deal with the patient as a patient and not as an individual organ or as an individual sick organism.
There's a great experiment going on in relation to medical education now. And when you really trace it down, the question that's most constantly asked is, why are doctors turned out as technicians instead of as healers?
This I see, but here's the Mount Sinai Hospital, which is obviously one of the great institutions of its kind in this country. And suddenly you're willing to take on new responsibilities. Why are you wanting to take on this rather arduous and costly task of founding a medical school, and what is it in the Mount Sinai complex that gives you the feeling that you are especially prepared to do this?
Well, it may seem visionary, if not presumptuous, for us to think in the direction of a medical school, but actually it is a natural line of development for the Mount Sinai Hospital. In the field of education, the hospital is now doing a very big job in the training, not only at the graduate level, but in some measure also at the undergraduate level. And we enjoy doing this. This is part of our mission in life. We would like to do more. We have the faculty, and we hope to have the facilities, and we have the patient population that is needed to teach medicine properly.
I add just
Yes,
one
sure.
statement. We've been talking in a certain sense of why we want to do this as Mount Sinai. We also want to do it because there's a need.
Of course. Of course.
I think this has to be understood.
Well, a puzzle to me here is how is the student going to have time? As I see our medical students going through the straight essential training of basic science and clinical science to be good doctors, they seem to be busy night and day, and now you are going to require them, and I think this has tremendous merit, to do even more. How are you going to find time? What is the plan?
Dr. Eisenhower, it isn't going to be very easy to do this, I assure you. But by redistribution of time and subject, we think we can get these very important items of the curriculum in.
The student on the ward in the clinical years still wastes a great deal of time. I find him taking blood from babies. This may take him an hour. A technician could do it in 5 minutes. A good deal of medical student time is still wasted in our best medical schools. We can cut some of this out.
There are many ways in the present curriculum where time could be found. What we're talking about is time for what, you see? And time to do the number of things that we feel will make a better physician. And this is really the essence of the question.
What goes on now is that we can teach a man how to do physical diagnosis and what kind of drugs to give. What we haven't made him understand is that when the child is sick, that it involves other people and involves the child, involves the person, that the whole relationship of the person to society, and it's not the whole patient, it's the whole society.
And what we're looking for as a physician is, in view of the fact that there isn't any question about a number of things. One is, there is going to be increased specialization. The other thing is that this specialization becomes possible only because of breakthrough in basic science in all kinds of areas. Computer systems, instrumentation of different kinds. Even at the physiological level, you can do telemetry so that you now have a person whose heart rate and various other things you want to know. You don't have to put him down on a couch and do this. You can put something on his chest and he can wander around and you can see him as he walks and lives. These are all the things that our medical student will have to know and have to know basically. But in addition, he's going to have to take into account what Dr. Hode said, namely the person as a totality and his relationship to his family, to the community, the impact he has on the community, and the impact that the community has on him.
Well, it's a delicate question in education, and that is how you educate the teacher. Because until the teacher is educated, the student is not going to be, or our future teacher is not going to be. The resident of the past was someone who came to a hospital for a specific purpose, and that was he had received his MD, he chose to specialize, and he went into his particular department, and from then on he was a very technologically well-trained specialist. It is our hope and desire that this, in a sense, will be reversed, that the residency will then become part of a long, continuing educational program, not only for his own sake, but also because the resident represents to us the future of our teaching faculty.
And I think the point that Dr. Karp made is perhaps the most important one of all, that if we can do this, we who are the faculty about to leave, as it were, we need the replacement, but we need a replacement that's going to think automatically that this is the way the medical profession has to function. And when we get this generation of teachers, then our pre-doctoral students, the medical student, will automatically begin to think in this way.
I would also like to add what hasn't been stressed yet, that we are quite concerned to bring to our house staff members, similar to our students, and to our staff members, younger and sometimes even already mature staff members, the impact that in the hospital is in residence such unusual people for a hospital as an economist, an anthropologist, and to be more visionary, possibly even a writer and an artist.
In my work, you just are compelled to be a little bit mercenary. And therefore I can't refrain from commenting that what you're planning to do is going to cost a great deal of money, and to ask the question, what do you foresee in this regard? It must be a mammoth thing that you're undertaking.
It is obviously an expensive package. And if I may return to the question which you just have asked before.
Just didn't answer the question.
He didn't give a figure.
I want to give you a figure.
That's what we're asking, Dr. Eisenhower.
I don't know whether for the record the figure is somewhere around $65 million.
I'm not at all surprised.
For the building and $25 million for an endowment fund.
Sure.
It's our hope to have an endowment fund to carry us through.
Now, I take it that in addition to being concerned about the health and total welfare of the individual, you will also have concern for the health of the community. But what is your plan with respect to what we might call community health?
We're talking or thinking not only of the person when he is sick, but the person and the community before and what we can do in relation to keeping them from becoming ill, so that you have then this package which goes beyond just taking care of the sick. And this, I think, relates to the changing function of a hospital as such, in relation to the community. And I think this becomes tremendously important. Now, what we're interested in, Dr. Eisenhower, I think, is what is it that we can do in relation to the future of American medicine in the education and training, not just the training, of health personnel to the last quarter of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. But in your initial question, I think has to be answered, we're interested in the community in terms of the total health and illness aspect.
Your question has even broader impact because really it strikes at what I think our educational philosophy is, which really is to open up all departments at as integrated a level as possible.
Very
to
good.
Open up the hospital to the community.
Good.
To take a specific example in surgery in which I am most interested, we have the problems of nutrition as much as the pediatrician, as much as the medical men. What we're hoping to do is to integrate ourselves, surgically speaking, with rehabilitation, with nutritional problems, with all the broad aspects of community health, which we, when we see our patients, return them to this community and have at present, unfortunately, little contact with. It's at this level we hope really to upgrade ourselves professionally in terms of their problems, not specifically surgically, but in the broadest aspects of what they do day by day.
I would like to carry your thinking even beyond the hospital. This is an amazing age in which we live. Human knowledge today is developing at a logarithmic rate. For thousands of years, a total defense system was good for 500 years. At the beginning of this century, it was good for 50 years. Today, it's good only for 5 years, and the main elements in the whole system are obsolete by the time they come off the production line. And while that's a dramatic example, the same thing is happening in all fields of human knowledge. And no matter how good a job we in education do today with the students while they're with us, there is the danger that they will be obsolete in 5 or 6 or 10 years. And I feel very strongly that medical schools have a very serious responsibility of helping keep the practicing physicians all up to date. Now, may I just ask, are you thinking in these terms too?
We do this in several ways. The physicians who work in our clinics, for example, are shall I say, forced or obligated, for just this very reason that you have in mind, are obligated to attend quite regularly certain major conferences that we have in various departments in the hospital. In fact, there's hardly an hour in the day in this hospital when some conference or other teaching exercise is not taking place, to which all physicians are invited.
Yes.
So we are constantly endeavoring to bring modern medicine to physicians all over the world. And with a medical school, we think we can do an even better job.
This is continuing medical education.
All through life.
All through life.
Yes.
The one aspect of this world where people are people who never will become obsolete. We want a man to be more than a technician. We want him to be a member of a profession. And this is what our real goal is.
Now, I have just one final question, and it's an important and very large question. There's nothing so certain in this modern age as rapid change of every description. The nature of society is changing, education is changing, industry is changing. The whole future of the nation is going to be perhaps different from what it's been, and medicine is going to change. Now, how do you, as far ahead as you can see, do you see the nature of medicine, of medical practice in the future? And do you feel that the plans that you are now making will prepare both the institution and the individuals to meet these future conditions?
Well, Dr. Eisenhower, I think this is one of the great reasons for starting a medical school here with the facilities we have and starting afresh. We're quite aware that of the changes that you're speaking about, and what we are afraid will happen in medicine unless something is done is that we will end up with superb technicians and not really good physicians.
We don't want to say that Mount Sinai has come out with something that nobody else has thought about. We've come out with a concept which a great many people have thought about, some in bits and pieces. We want to synthesize this. Now, if we can demonstrate that this kind of job can be done, then we hope that other schools and institutions and facilities will take a look at us and be able to do similar things.
What we are trying to do is to build into the curriculum some provisions for broadening the outlook of the physician. We would like him to be aware every minute of the social and personal relations of the patient that he's dealing with, of the family and other aspects of his life, which must be taken into account when anyone does treat a patient in what we think is the proper manner.
Now, we don't want to give the idea that Mount Sinai has come down from Mount Sinai with everything on the tablets, you see? But what we do want to say is this is something that medicine has been talking about. The question is, have they done it? And they have not done it by and large, and we feel that we are in the position to be able to do this. Now, what we want to do is to create a climate in this hospital, in all our teaching hospitals, from our teachers and our faculty and everybody concerned, so that the student who comes in will end up as a physician who comes out. The other thing we want to emphasize is that medical education really is not 4 years in the medical school. It starts in kindergarten and ends with the eulogy that the man has when he dies. It's a continuing process. And the internship and the residency, all of this is part and parcel of it. And the kind of climate you have in a teaching institution is going to determine the kind of person who is going to be turned out from it. This, I think, is essentially what we're talking about in this Mount Sinai concept. And this is why we feel that this medical school has not a different mission only, but a different potential for doing and carrying out that mission.
Well, gentlemen, I just want to say to you what a pleasure it's been for me to come here and to learn about your plans. And I not only wish you every success professionally, but returning to my mercenary spirit, I hope that the community quickly gives you the resources that you need in order that you can put this plan into effect right away. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Medicine now stands on the threshold of advances in health scarcely dreamed of a decade or two ago. Tomorrow's doctor will have to be a new kind of doctor, trained not merely in new techniques, but by completely new teaching concepts. And precisely because of the added stress that'll be put on specialization, he will have to balance his vastly expanded medical knowledge and skills with a deeper, fuller social understanding of his patient. He will have to treat him as a whole person, and not, as Dr. Hode said, as a series of biological reactions that have gone wrong. He will have to treat him as a patient whose well-being is closely related to the health of his family and his community. It will take a new kind of medical school to turn out doctors like this, a school whose curriculum has been developed and oriented toward this specific end. With your help, such a school, the Mount Sinai School of Medicine, will now become a reality. And your life and the lives of your children will become the richer for it.